Righto, I'm on, guys. I'm just going to start a bit early, guys, so please feel free to come on in and say good day. Just going to pop over and grab the live and grab everyone as you come in. View my channel. So yeah, just still getting set up, guys. But I'm in early. That'll be that one right now. That's it there. I'm just testing to make sure everything works. Somebody's already like it. Yeah. So yeah, works perfectly. So that's good. I'm going to pop my chat out. Is that the menu to pop out everything? Moderation. Okay, so I'm going to pop that out. Pop out my chats. I'm just checking my video's working. So yeah, okay. I've just popped my chat out so I can see who's come on live and do a Q&A as well. Just thought I'd come on a bit earlier in case people wanted to start coming in. I'll just go and say good day. Just going to do a live while we wait. Okay, so that's set. Okay, I'm just going to pop. I've got that. Oh, yep. So I've got my AirPod in one side. Okay, so I'm just going to put. Yep, just. Perfect. Leave it now. Oh. Just going to turn the cam off for a moment. Yep. Yeah. Just waiting for 5 minutes, but I've come early. Pop that up there. Okay, so still about 4 minutes before I go live. Okay, Sharon, about 4 minutes, I'll be there. 4 minutes. Or 3 minutes, sorry, and I'll be live. Just catching up with some people first. So stay tuned, guys. Yeah. Yep. That's all good. No, I don't have to. Actually, I don't, because it's. I can put that one here. I've actually got it on the tube. Your comments will show up in my. All right. T-minus 1 minute. Hey, Jules. I've just about to go live. So, thank you. Okay, so I'll just shut that other that live down for a moment. Okay, so yeah, thank you. I'll return the sub when I'm off my live. Okay, so I'm going to run to a set. I've got a set list of things I want to follow. I'll just get just still setting up. This bloody thing is annoying. Okay, guys. So good. We're good. Okay, so I've got to preface this by putting this up. So the subject tonight is travelling with a disability or a mental illness. This live will not be an open panel, but we'll follow a structured list that I've prepared. So I'll follow that list. A disclaimer, all the information I am talking about tonight will be coming from my personal experiences, and your experiences may differ from mine. Please be aware that everybody's needs will be different. Please feel free to share anything you would like to talk about in the chat, and I will endeavour to answer where I can. Hey, Sharon. Shirley, how are you? It's just after 8 p.m. This is why I went live when I did. You're on Eastern, 6 a.m. Eastern time. It's just after 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so I'll just turn that banner off and I'll put the flick ticker on. So I'm Joe. Before I forget to mention, yeah, Sharon, it's 8 p.m. This is why I programmed this live, knowing that you guys on the east coast of the eastern seaboard of the United States will be at smack on 6 a.m. So, so yeah, I've learnt from Jimmy that you guys, when it's 8 o'clock my time, 8 p.m. my time, it's 6 a.m. your time. So I programmed it for that. So back to what I was saying. I'm Joe. I'm 39. I live in Australia. I do a fair bit of travel. I have actually. I am on the spectrum. Yep, you're an hour and a half ahead of Sharon. So I am on the spectrum, and I also have anxiety. So basically, what I'm sharing tonight will be based on those experiences. So I was diagnosed with anxiety in May of 2006. I was immediately put on medication for it. I was on that medication from May May 2006, virtually exactly 2 years, to May of 2008. It was in that time I was able to gain full-time work, which has allowed me to do my traveling, and allowed me to gain some really, really, really good memories. In 2007, 3 days before Christmas of 2017, I was diagnosed as being on the spectrum. So yeah, I'm anxiety and being on the spectrum sometimes are comorbidities. So that's where that lies. Okay, so that's my experiences. Okay, so I'm gonna expand on that in a moment. With that, I'm just waiting for more people to come in. My first ever trip, I'm going to talk about that as part of my second point. My first ever trip was a coach trip back in May of 2009. I was very fortunate enough to join 46 other people. 46? Yeah, 46 other people on a coach trip from where I live to Sydney, Australia. We were going down to see country music duo Brooks and Dunn. When I heard they were coming to Australia, I had to find out who was at the time taking people down, and I found out that a local coach company was taking people down. So I've approached them and said, "How much? And what are your dates?" Well, I knew the dates and the price. I had to go and pay them. So that was all well and good. The day came, and then we had. I'm just going to pop this other window up. We had the day came. I headed into their yard / depot. The coach was there. Our coach captain was there, checking us in and grabbing our bags, putting them under the coach. We left Dubbo at 7:30. We had a scheduled comfort stop at Bathurst, which is 2.5 hour drive away. Then we drove in all the way to Sydney. We all got checked into our accommodation, blah, blah. And then we all had time to go and get something to eat for lunch or whatever, do things. So there was a big group of us. We all went down to Haymarket, down to the markets there at Haymarket, just down from Central Station, among other things. So, and then the concert, we went to the concert we left at around 5:30. Luckily, thank God we did, because it was traffic gridlock. We went and did the concert, got back to our accommodation well after midnight, and I was totally buggered. I went up to my room and I laid down and went to sleep. No, was it after midnight? It would have been about midnight before we got back. So we went and rested up. I went down because why I bought it was actually my birthday, the day we were coming back. So basically all the fun stuff. So we all were meant to meet downstairs for breakfast, which we all did. It was all inclusive. So we went and had breakfast. Everyone's wishing me happy birthday, which I knew was going to happen. And then we get on the coach. We actually had a few hours to spare. So they had keyed in a few hours to spare down at Penrith, which is about a half hour, 45-minute drive from the Sydney CBD. I had relatives living down there at the time. They've since moved from there to Lawson, and then from Lawson to Bathurst since. So that's, in a nutshell, that trip. And then we got back home. I got a happy birthday wish from the coach anyway, from our driver as well. Coach captain as well, who I became friends with because he's now working with another company that I now frequently travel with. So what can you expect when traveling? I've travelled by air, I've travelled by train, I've travelled by coach. Now, all different and unique in their own ways. Flying is going to be the quickest option. So from where I live to Sydney is about an hour and 15 minutes by air. To do it by road or by train, you're looking at anywhere from 4.5 to 7 hours. But then if you're going to be going by coach, you will not get the coach into Sydney Central, unless they've done a full length rail replacement. So you'll get from Dubbo to Lithgow by coach. The coach will terminate at Lithgow. You get on to a intercity, Sydney Trains Intercity, which will take you all the way to Central. Now, I've recently travelled by coach down to Melbourne with a company called Firefly Express Coaches. So they're a true express company. Their coaches are modern, clean, and very well presented. They have air conditioning, full-size panoramic windows for day views, reclining seats, and they have Wi-Fi. So if you're needing to use the Wi-Fi on the coach, they are very generous with their Wi-Fi allowance. Most operators will only give you 500 megabytes. Firefly give you 1 gigabyte. So Firefly are more generous in giving their data to their. So for 50, say a 50-seat coach, just double check. I'm pretty sure they're all 50-seat coaches. Hang on. They're all 50-seat coaches. So 50 gigabytes of data per coach used per device per coach. Or 50 gigabyte over 50 devices is 50 gigabytes. That's all for everyone on board. I didn't use it on the way down, but I did use it on the way back. and that is only available in very good mobile reception areas, where you've got good data and you've got good access. Some of the coaches also have USB charging points, and they all are air conditioned for comfort. So, layovers, well, that's a common thing when you're travelling. You can expect layovers. Like, I got into Central Station at around 4:30. I still had 2.5 hours to wait before we left to go to Melbourne. So I grabbed something to eat. I relaxed and had something to eat and drink. When I was on, I'm just reading up my list. Delays are another thing too, regardless of whether you're traveling by train, by bus, by plane. The only thing you can't, and maybe even to a point by car, with roadworks, traffic incidents, etc. Delays are inevitable. You can be delayed by weather. If you're flying, you're delayed by weather, crewing, aircraft problems, any number of things, whether it be in flight or at either departure or destination. I will use a fine example of that, of a aircraft delay. Aircraft caused delay. I was travelling to Newcastle over on the coast of New South Wales back in 2019. I was due to depart at 2 o'clock and be in Newcastle by 3 o'clock. However, the plane that was due to service our flight had a failed fuel control unit on the number 2 engine. So they had to delay us for 3 hours to find another aircraft, which they only had one left flying. So they had to delay another flight out of Newcastle, fly that aircraft, a whole new crew, a maintenance crew, their tools, and the new FCU for the stricken aircraft at Dubbo. That new crew took us straight over to Newcastle, deplaned us, replaned the Canberra flight, and got down there as quick as possible. So that was hectic. Anyway, my accommodation providers texted me wondering where the hell I am. I said, look, I'm stuck. We've had delay. Anyway, I would ring her. I said, look, we've got a delay here due to an aircraft fault or a broken down aircraft. I'm sure there's an aircraft on the way to replace it. And we'll be down. I'll get it. You've already checked me in, so just leave my room key where I can access it, which was in a safe at the door at reception. I got it and I went and found my room. Nearly lost it. So yeah, that's things you can do at airports. Sydney, Kingsford Smith, Yankee Sierra Sierra Yankee. If you're in the domestic terminal that is Qantas only, which is Terminal 3, you've got access to a miniaturized version of the Qantas Founders Museum. So basically it shows off different things like the history. So what you've got all the different, like your landing gear from I think it's a 707 or a 747. Then you've got the intermediate turbine blades out of every Rolls-Royce engine in the Qantas fleet, including the RB211 Trent 900s out of the A380, and all the different memorabilia. You can also do a bit of shopping and eating at the airport's really good, especially Sydney. You're not restricted to one specific type of food. I've had dumplings from a place called Wok on Air. I've had what else have I had? I've had the normal standards, Hungry Jack's, which is Burger King in Australia, and also McDonald's. Maybe a bit of KFC. Tell a lie. You do chemists, if you've got to pick up a prescription, you can go and see there's a couple of chemists on site, duty free. So if you're flying for doing duty free, if you've flown in from a domestic airport, you can do your duty free at T3 before going over to Terminal 1. I haven't really done Terminal 1. I've only ever done Terminals 2 and 3, which are your domestics. Terminal 1 is your international. Other things, you can just go and watch planes. You can sit around the airport and watch planes take off all day, every day. Doesn't matter whether you're a plane geek or not. I have, Sharon. I'll come back to that. I'm just in the middle of talking about the main point here. You can go to Plane Spot at Terminal 3. You've got the Dash 8s, which is your 200, 300, and 400s. Your Q series Dash 8s. What else? The 717-200s, which are now starting to be phased out in favour of the newer Airbus A220-300s. The Embraer, the E190 Embraers, the 737s, the smaller Airbuses, the A320s and the A330s, I believe. Some A330s are used domestically. I know the 320s. I've not flown on a 320 yet, A320 or A321neo. I've ever only flown on the Embraer ERJ190, also known as the E190, and the Boeing 737-800 series. But other than that, all my flying has been done on turboprops, such as your British Aerospace Jetstream 3200 series and the Bombardier Dash 8s. Dash 8 Q400s, predominantly the Q400s. Other than that, I've only ever done coaches and mainly coaches. So when I was down in Victoria, I also was able to catch the Velocity diesel multiple unit. We'll speak of those two. Comparing them to the express passenger trains in New South Wales, they are a lot smoother. They run a different engine. So the Velocities run a Cummins QSK. I think it's a QSK. Hang on, let me check that. I'm pretty sure I'm stuffing this up. I'm not sure it's a 60 QSK 60 rail pack. Bear with me, guys. It's just not let me search here. So let me bear with me, guys. There it is. That's the one I want. So I'm pretty sure they do run a Cummins engine. I'm not sure if it is a QSK 60. Hang on, I'll hide the contents so I can. Don't want dark mode, bugger off. Sorry, I was right. It was a QSK, but it wasn't a 60. 60 is, I think, a V12. They run QSK 19R rail packs, which is a 19-litre 6-cylinder turbocharged and aftercooled engine, 750 horsepower per unit, with a Voith T312 hydraulic transmission. So I ran that from Southern Cross, which is the next station after the primary station at Melbourne, which is Flinders Street, all the way to Mooroopna, which is about 2 and a bit hours. Just let me check something. I'm pretty sure it was about 2 hours. Just a bit under 3 hours. Just got to check that because that's got me thinking. Luckily, I kept all my documentation. I think I did. think I did. Just bear with me, guys. So that's accommodation. There it is. That's what I need. My trusty. So to get from Melbourne to Mooroopna, which I left at 9:26, it's about 2 hours and 40 minutes from roughly. So yeah, luckily I always keep my paperwork in case I need to refer back to it. Now, we're going to talk about getting around places too. I did not put that in. So that's in as part of number 3. You can always get around certain places. I know Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane you can, utilising public transport. Bear with me, guys. Okay. That's all right. I don't know what that was. Yeah, guys, sorry about that. Okay, so getting around, a lot of states have cashless transport cards. So the primary 2 I needed for this trip were these 2, Opal and MyKey. So Opal is for New South Wales, as you can see by the other way, New South Wales government logo in the bottom corner, and this one is for Victoria, as depicted by this logo here, which is Public Transport Victoria. This one here is for Queensland. This is the TransLink Go card, as depicted by the Queensland government logo on the back. You have to, I always make sure I have a bit of money on them before I depart where I'm leaving from. Hang on. I'll put them in that order so I know to grab the right card again. So that's basically that in a nutshell. So when you get on a bus or a train, or before you get on a train, you have to tap on as you enter the station. I know that's correct with all 3. And you have to tap on as you board a bus or a light rail, or what they call a tram in Melbourne. So basically that's all that in a nutshell. So now we're going to move on to my favourite destinations, my favourite destinations in Australia that I've travelled to. We're going to start where I live in New South Wales in the Australian Capital Territory. We're going to start with Sydney, the capital city. So Sydney is very, very much a unique city in that it shows a lot of colonialism, or the early days of Australia. In Australia, we have, in Sydney, you can actually walk around Circular Quay and see a lot of the history of New South Wales as a whole, basically, from that one point. Just let me close that, just to not distract myself. Yeah, so when I was in Sydney recently, I was actually able to do a couple of walking tours, just look around, get an insight into Sydney, and I've learned a lot that I never even knew. And now I'm actually a resident of New South Wales. The biggest thing is, the best thing about Sydney is it's all the coastal suburbs are accessible by ferry. You do not have to rely on buses, trains, whatever. You can just jump on a ferry. Say you want to go over to the other side of the harbour, over to, say, Watson's Bay, you jump on a ferry. Over to Manly, you jump on a ferry. So it takes you about 40 minutes to get from Circular Quay to, say, Watson's Bay. Now we're moving on to Newcastle, Port Stephens, the Hunter area. Now, Newcastle is a steel city. It's a great little city. It's really, really spread out, though. Like Sydney, it's spread out into multiple suburbs. But the highlight of Newcastle is the nightlife. It's like pubs, clubs, and other things. you can always be assured of something to do in Newcastle. Their light rail runs from the Newcastle interchange to Nobby's Beach. It's one continuous length of rail, virtually. What else? You must also go down to the wharf area and try a pie from Harry's Cafe de Wheels. Harry's Cafe de Wheels is the best for pies. Let me just say that much. The best in the Newcastle area. You get a pie with mushy peas and gravy. And Port Stephens, which is in the same area, you have to get on a bus to get from Newcastle to Port Stephens. They're not linked by trains. Again, Opal card. It's a godsend. So from Newcastle to Port Stephens, it's about a 45-minute, roughly, bus ride. You can go into Port Stephens, into Nelson Bay as it's called. There's a marina called the Diaboro Marina. There's restaurants, bars, a fish cooperative. You can buy that day's fresh fish straight. It's only just come off the boat that morning. So yeah, all the fish at that co-op has probably come in that morning's catch, in the catch from that morning. You can actually go on dolphin watch cruises. You can go on different things out of Port Stephens. Whale watching currently it's whale watch season here in Australia on the east coast, especially here on the east coast of Australia. We have a strip of ocean that's called the Humpback Highway, and they are phenomenal. You can hire jet skis, boats. You can even go on a jet boat. You can go jet boating, name it. If you have the time, you can also go back out to Williamtown, Newcastle Airport and jump in a helicopter and go for a fly over the top of the area. Another big thing while we're in that area is an attraction called Fighter World. Now, I've been there. You can actually observe planes taking off from the airport from Fighter World's observation deck. But the mainstay of that attraction is all the different aircraft that are in that collection. They've actually even got an F-111. That is how comprehensive their collection is. From piston powered to jets, including a CAC CA-27 Avon Sabre. See, that's actually the CA-27 Sabre is a license-built version. Hey, Arby, I have anxiety. If you watch the replay later, you can. And I am autistic. I am on the spectrum. Fighter World is the best attraction ever. So yeah, So it's all just different jets, all fighter aircraft. I've forgotten how much I paid to get in, but it wasn't that dear. But it coincided with a flying day with the Royal Australian Air Force. They were running the new F-35s, the F-35 Lightning IIs, which just coincided with my stay at that point. On to the next destination will be Coffs Harbour on the mid-north coast of New South Wales, on the mid-north coast. Now, I first visited there in 2012, and I have been back there 3 times. I'm from Australia. This is all Australian. All this information I'm giving you here in this section will be all Australian. So yeah, Coffs Harbour is the next destination. I went there in 2012, and I've been there 3 times since. Coffs Harbour is a fairly unique place in that it's spread out like Newcastle and Port Stephens and the Hunter, but it has one central business district. No, I'm not. No. I wish I was, though. I'm going to put this user in timeout. Oh, this person is annoying. So yeah, it's the first time I've had to ban someone. So yeah, it's annoying. I'm trying to concentrate on what I'm saying. Yeah, so it's one central, the central business district actually is unique that it has a road running through the shopping mall. So yeah. Bear with me, guys. Make sure they're removed. Yeah, so that's that. Back to what I was saying, there's so many different attractions in the area. I can only give you 3 that I've pretty much been to. Coffs Coast Wildlife Sanctuary, formerly known as Dolphin Marine Magic and Dolphin Marine Conservation Park. As a lot of you can tell if you've got me on Facebook, I love going there. Then there's the Big Banana at just south of Coffs Harbour, or just north of Coffs Harbour on the Pacific Highway. Then there's the Coffs Harbour Butterfly House, which is at Bombville, just south of Coffs Harbour. That's where I was trying to get to before I got confused and lost my bearings. Now that's unique in that it is there's all butterflies. There's butterflies, dinosaurs, fairies, you name it. But the big part is a humidity control and temperature controlled. What's that word? Arboretum sort of thing, where they have all manners of different Australian butterflies. They're most active once they first open up, and a friend of mine and I were lucky enough to go there once that happened. They opened up and they were starting to have the butterflies really get active, so they were fantastic. Next destination, although I haven't stayed there, I have been there, is the country music capital of Australia, Tamworth. I've only done day trips up there. I can't vouch for accommodation or other attractions, but I can vouch for some of the fun, because that's every January they have the Tamworth Country Music Festival. It attracts, for a town that's pretty small, it brings in the people. The population swells something chronic. How shall I put it? For a town of 10,000 people, it swells up to about 40,000 for 10 days, early January every year. Big Old Guitar Tourist Centre just out off town on the Goonoo Road, or the New England Highway. That is amazing. There is a 12-metre fiberglass replica or fiberglass statue that shows the Golden Guitar, which is the annual awards at that festival. That's worth seeing. And there's the Gallery of Stars Wax Museum within that. That's also good to see. That is a separate admission. It's free to get into the Big Golden Guitar Tourist Centre, but you have to pay, I think it's $3 or $4, $5 to get into the Gallery of Stars Wax Museum. Next destination, which isn't quite a destination, it's actually a road, is the Waterfall Way. The Waterfall Way is 185 kilometres long, starts at Armidale in the New England region of New South Wales and links to the Pacific Highway at Raleigh, 26 kilometres south of Coffs Harbour. The big draw card for this road, or for this area, is the waterfalls. There are 2 specific waterfalls that I would like to mention: Sherrard Falls and Newell Falls. And I will explain why I've chosen those 2 in a moment. You can go from being 30 degrees in Armidale to Dorrigo, where it's 10 to 15 degrees cooler. You're driving through a tropical rainforest. Now, those 2 waterfalls that I've mentioned, it got wet. It got wet here overnight. So the two waterfalls that I've mentioned, Sherrard Falls and Ure Falls, are actually unique. That they run down a rock face through a pipe under the road, under the road, and then continue down. Again, that was I travelled that with a friend of mine from the UK. We actually did it in a rental car. So yeah, best road, a bit twisty in some areas when you're coming, especially coming down past Sherrard and Ure Fall, both Sherrard and Ure. The waterfalls that come in under the road. It gets to a point the waterfalls actually get pretty torrential, and they actually come over the road surface, and they have to shut the road at those two locations. Primarily Ure Falls, though. It buckets down, and it gets to a point where they've got to shut the road. Nobody can get through with the torrent of water that's coming down. The final destination, I've actually covered both New South Wales and the ACT here. I forgot to mention that, is Canberra, our national capital. Well, Canberra's unique in that we call it the city of roundabouts, because it's just in a circle. You just go from one roundabout to the next. Where our national parliament is, and there is some really good attractions. The National Museum of Australia, the National Portrait Gallery, and what was the other one that I visited there in 2012? Shit. Yeah, I know the one, but I can't think of it. I'll think of it in a minute. So, National Cartoon Gallery, it was. I think it was. Yeah, anyway, that's beside the point. It's 12 years ago now. Yeah, so that was a good trip. Other things are other attractions are Questacon, which is within walking distance of the National Portrait Gallery. Old Parliament House, which I have been to in the past. The snowfields of New South Wales are only probably about an hour away, hour and a little bit away. That's about it. So now we're going to move from New South Wales into Victoria. We're going to start with the capital city, Melbourne. As most of you know, I was recently down there. I met up with Sean and Alana from the Down Under Cruises, which was amazing. There are so many different things to do in Melbourne. Actually, I've been there twice now. So Sea Life Melbourne Aquarium, highly recommended. If you could get in, have a look around. There's also one in Sydney as well. Sydney Sea Life Aquarium as well. And there's also one I'll be mentioning on the up in Queensland very shortly. So then you've got Crown Casino. What else? Chocoholic Tours is another one that I highly recommend. If you love your chocolate, go and do a tour with them. Then you've got the MCG. Go and do a tour of the MCG. I highly recommend that too. That's just that. And accommodation's really easy to come by in Melbourne. Like where I stayed recently was the Mercure Welcome within the free tram zone. I didn't pay for the tram to go from Flinders Street to Little Bourke Street. That was free. That was another bonus of staying there. So on to the next destination, which was actually my first destination, Mooroopna, Shepparton and Kialla. They're all one part. Mooroopna, Shepparton and Kialla are all one pretty well built up area. So Mooroopna and the Shepparton, Greater Shepparton area has the Museum of Vehicle Evolution, which I went to. Fantastic. They say you need at least an hour to 2 hours to get that all in. I say no, 3 to 5 hours. If you really want to get that museum in, it's 3 to 5 hours minimum. Then you've got the Chocolate Apple Factory, which is right next door to the Museum of Vehicle Evolution. A few other places, really cool. Then you've got the SPC. You've got the SPC factory outlet in Shepparton, which is the biggest place where you can actually buy all of SPC's products at a bargain price and then some. Then you've got a few other places. Then we'll move on to Alexandra. Now, Alexandra is where they have their annual truck show, the long weekend in June. There's so many wall-to-wall trucks. You can't walk down the main street without running into a truck that's been parked up for the day. There's cake shops, pie shops, you name it. All the food, they try not to bring in food trucks. They try to keep their money local, which is a really, really good thing. So yeah, it's combined with utes and rods, hot rods as well. What else is in Alexandra? That's about it. Now Yark, it's a little place, but it's got a pub, a service station, a pie shop. It's part of the Great Victorian Rail Trail, which is, and I've got the brochure, I hope I've still got it. Actually, I do. I've just got to show you that. There it is. So this is the Australia's longest rail trail. Starts over in Tallarook, runs all the way to Mansfield, right at the foothills of the Victorian Alps. Put that in there so I know where it is next time. It's sort of, I think, strategically is the halfway point on the rail trail. You branch off the rail trail to Yea and also Alexandra as well. So there's another part of Alexandra that then you go all the way to Mansfield. And then Yark is it. Now we're going to go to Queensland. Starting in Brisbane, where there's so many amazing things. So South Bank, one of my key destinations in Brisbane is South Bank. You go along the Brisbane River. You've got lollies, you've got cafes, you've got all different shops. Lolly shops, chocolate shops. They've got Max Brenner, and a few other things, among other things. Then you've got like the Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Centre precinct. You've got Charming Squire Brew Pub. You've got You've got the Brisbane Convention and Exhibition Centre itself. A few other things. Then you go over to Roma Street, over towards Roma Street Station. You've got the Roma Street Parklands, which is really, really amazing, and you need to see it at night because they do have light up features in there. Footpaths, the Parklands, you could just spend hours, just lose yourself in there. Then you've got the Gabba, the Suncorp Stadium, and all that good stuff. Then you've got, we'll move down to the Gold Coast. You jump on a train at Roma Street, you go all the way down. It's about 2.25 hour train ride from Roma Street to the Gold Coast, which has all your theme parks: SeaWorld, Wet n Wild, Movie World, Dream World, Paradise Country, the Australian Outback Spectacular, and the most expensive hotel in all of Australia, the Palazzo Versace. One night there will set you back 1,300 Australian dollars. It's actually just down the road from SeaWorld. If you want to go, SeaWorld is my go-to. I've not been to the other parks yet. You could get to interact with animals there: dolphins, seals, penguins. My most recent one I did was an Antarctic penguin adventure, and then you've got all the other ones. Now we're on to Caboolture on the Sunshine Coast, where it's so chic. You lose yourself in that area. And finally, Mooloolaba, which is where I mentioned the final sea life aquarium on the east coast of Australia is, which is Sea Life Sunshine Coast Aquarium, Sea Life Sunshine Coast. I haven't been there, but I would love to go there. Anyway, in closing, we'll close this one off, and again, mental illness is not a weakness. I just want to make you aware of that. Mental illness is not a weakness. People that have it will understand. Excuse me. So people who have mental illness do understand the daily things, the daily battles. Disability, same thing. You're not alone. There are people that will say that their disability has affected them a lot. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I ain't going to sugarcoat that. It is hard. You do get shunned a lot. I will say that much. You do get shunned. I don't think there's any questions, so I'll continue on with point one in my closing summary. Disabilities are not contagious either, nor are mental illnesses. Just be there for someone who is struggling. That's all I can say. Struggles. They're real, people. They're not all part of up here. It's real. The day-to-day struggle with a person with mental illness, sometimes people are affected to the point they can really, almost at my hour, but we'll go over because I'm really passionate about this. People see people with a disability or a mental illness and they look at them and they think we're all murderers. No, we're not. We're like everyone else. It's what's in here. It's in here. The item that's in here is what makes people care. And that's what I always tell people. You are, and here's what's most important, the caring, compassionate part. What else? Being there for people. As Jimmy says, positive mental attitude as well. And I will actually live by that. I look at things, and you've got to be positive. I'll just put that out of the way so I can see it again. You've got to look at things with a positive attitude. If you don't look at things positively, you're not going to win. Just turn that up a little bit. Just find my remote here. So yeah, people look at things. I know I look at things positively. When you look at things positively, things aren't going to let you down. Like, there are certain things that get me, but I'm not letting them get me down. Another thing, be mindful. Use your mindfulness. Use mindfulness if you need to. Breathe, relax, do something you want to do. Like if I was away at the moment, I'd be doing something I would love to do. I'll just turn that ticker off. It's confusing me now. Be there. Be in the moment. Just do you. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And finally, make sure your mindset, you're in your own mindset with things. You are you. God, it's 10 to 9 already. So yeah, in closing, no, I don't think there's going to be questions. Don't think there's going to be questions, so I'm just up to my hour, so I'm going to close up. So I'm up to an hour now. I'll wrap up here and say that travelling doesn't have to be a chore if you've got a disability or a mental illness. Just be aware of what is involved, research everything, go and check things out. If you're not sure of things, like I was when I first flew, so I went out and checked the airport out. Check your airports, check your coach terminals, check railway stations, check anything you need to check, mate. Put your mind at ease. Put your mind at ease by doing those things. There, if you need to talk to someone who is a pilot or a cabin crew, talk to them. Tell them or talk to the cabin crew as you're boarding the aircraft. Don't restrict yourself to needing to do it yourself. Always put the cabin crew on the same page as you. So if they see you having, say, a panic attack, they know that they've got to help you. Same with the pilots. If you're a first-time flyer and you're really nervous, certain airlines will do have programs where you can go and allay your fear of flying. I think it's British Airways has it. I'm pretty sure it's British Airways that does it more over in the UK for people, but I think there's one in Australia as well, but I cannot remember it for all the rice in China. I do know it's here. It might be a fear of heights, but I sort of had that. I had that first flying experience. It was actually not in a fixed wing aircraft. It was in a rotary wing aircraft. It was in a helicopter. So I had that first experience, even though it was only approximately 2,000 feet. I was used to it. So yeah, always put your own mind at ease. You always brief your cabin crew, anyone that you need, like security, cabin crew, rampies, or people that are helping you. At that point, you put them on the same page and tell them what you want, what you're experiencing, and then what they can do to help. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wind this up. Thank you for coming in. My next live will be the 10th of August, so about 2 weeks from now, at 11 a.m. And the live after that will be the same day at 1 p.m. I'll be. No worries, Shirley. I'm glad I could be of assistance. These, as I said, these are only my experiences. Your experiences will be different. I will. Thank you. Anyway, yeah, it's the moments that count. It is the moments that count. It's those memories that you gain from getting to your destination and doing the things at that destination. Everyone that's got me, yourself, Jimmy, Sean, they're all in the know. It's the only way to do it. If you're not mentally prepared, you can't just get those experiences. Shirley, I'm going to send you a couple of photos that I hold near and dear, and I will explain with those photos the memories behind them. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wind up here, and we will catch you again on the 10th of August. Bye for now.